I got a half an hour to fill this and a whole lot of notes. Let's get into this. Ooh, my lips are chapped. Hold on, I'll be back in a minute. That's better. Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shnaria and this is Shnaria's Trial and Errors. I'm actually thinking about changing the name of my channel. I just can't find anything that really rhymes with sh. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification bell. Do it. Vlogtober is coming up. There's gonna be a lot of videos that I'm gonna be doing. If you're interested in that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you will always be notified when I post. Let's get right into this video. As you guys know from my post recently, I went on a couple of trips this summer. I don't think I've ever really talked about my job on here. It didn't really seem relevant. Like YouTube and my job, they don't really click together. I decided to take the summer off. With the pandemic and everything going on, I needed some time to myself. I didn't have any time to myself during the entire pandemic. I worked through the entire thing. This is gonna be your first tip. Number one, I had to get vaccinated. I made the choice to get vaccinated for my job, for my health, and for the people around me. It's as simple as that. The first shot was really simple. I made an appointment, I drove out to Vaughan for like 15 minutes. The second shot, however, it was brutal. So they didn't have any Moderna available. I had to go with Pfizer. I waited in line for 5 hours. I had to wait 2 weeks afterwards to be able to travel. This was nothing like a trip that I took to DR. My first trip of the summer was to Disney World. My trip started off really rough. To make a long story short, I assumed that because I was fully vaccinated, I would be fine to travel. No such thing. They asked me if I had a negative COVID test. I said, no, I'm fully vaccinated. They said, you still need one anyway. I said, what now? They wouldn't let me board my flight. When I tell you guys, my heart sank. She sank to the floor. Is there any way I can get tested here? They're like, actually, yeah, there is a testing station. Unfortunately, it was Sunday and apparently they weren't there on Sundays. Tickets to Disney World are non-refundable. The most you can do is like change for a different date. If I had changed it, it would have messed up everything else. I had already booked my trip for Greece and Italy. It wasn't like I could just automatically just move the trip. Everything was already set. Like when I am about to book a flight or multiple trips, I'm extremely organized because that is the only way to be, people. Organized. I wasn't able to board my flight, but I did end up finding a place that could get me tested and get the results back to me by the end of the day. I went to this place called FH Testing. They work really quickly. They had my test results back to me in 15 minutes. I went to the one closest to the airport because I was trying to come back and catch an afternoon flight. Unfortunately, because I was flying with WestJet, and WestJet only has one flight per week going from Toronto to Orlando, I had to end up booking an entirely new flight with an entirely new airline. End up spending $500 on a one-way flight. That flight cost me more than my entire flights put together. That was a lesson well learned. Even if you are vaccinated, you need to have a negative COVID test. Also, do your research of what the country you are about to enter is requiring right now. The best advice I can give you guys. Now that we have covered the most important thing, which is COVID and getting tested, trust me, you will not be allowed in anybody's country without either being fully vaccinated or being tested. A very common question I get is, how is it that I can afford to go on all these trips? I work. No, I don't work multiple jobs. I only have one job, but I'm really good at my job. I can set certain prices. With this and with not being able to travel for so long, I decided to just kind of combine all that money that I would have spent on smaller trips and just saved up for multiple smaller trips. One of the best advice I can give you guys is plan ahead. I know it sounds boring, stressful. If you want to go, you need to plan, okay? I write everything down. I do research for weeks on end. I'm not the type of person who can just pick up $5,000 and just go on a trip like that. Obviously, this is money that takes time to save. It takes a few weeks to save. So if I'm going to be putting that much money into a trip, I want all the details. These are some of my favorite sites to go and check things out. Google for flights. I don't care what nobody says, Hopper, Kayak, whatever, blah, blah. Listen, just go straight to Google, go to flights. It will always give you the best prices. Sometimes I do end up checking like Orbitz or something, but I always end up going back to Google because they will always have the best prices. Second, hotels.ca and Expedia. Those are like two of my go-tos for hotels. I don't really do Airbnb. I've never stayed in an Airbnb. I have issues with Airbnbs. I prefer to just go straight to a hotel, check in, have them clean my room, do all that. Like, I'm on vacation. I don't need to be cleaning up or paying anybody's cleaning. I want to make sure that everything is already included in that one fee that I'm gonna pay. It's just not for me, okay? If it's for you, if it's your thing and you like it, definitely go ahead and do your research and try and find an Airbnb within your budget. That's another thing. Know your budget. Know how much you want to spend. Obviously, there's room to go a little bit higher or even save a couple dollars here and there, but know your budget. Also, always have money for emergencies. With my flight situation, I did have insurance on my WestJet flight. Unfortunately, it's within an hour of the flight that something goes wrong. That money is gone. They're not gonna give you back your money. So I had to end up booking an emergency flight for the next day to go to Disney World, which cost me $500. So always have money for an emergency situation. Unless you're going to an all-inclusive and everything is already paid for, always have emergency. Even then, even with all-inclusive, always have emergency money on you. Sit in front of your laptop, your phone, when you're on your lunch break at work, you know, do some research and see how much everything costs. Like I write it down in one of these two books. But if it's not an all-inclusive and I'm going to be paying for everything separately, then I need to know how much. So flights, hotel, food, cost of transportation, and any little knickknacks, any little souvenirs, and any little gifts I want to buy for anyone. I combine all of that and I give myself that budget to either stay in, and I know how much I want to spend, and I know how much I want to end up saving by the end of the trip. Let's see, what else we got here? Making dinner reservations. If you are traveling somewhere and you're staying in a city for maybe just a couple of days, like I stayed in Orlando for 4 days, I stayed in New York for 4 days, I believe, in Greece for 5, in Italy for a couple, but like in different cities in Italy. So if there is somewhere you've always wanted to eat, now is the time to call and make a reservation. If there's somewhere that's been on your list forever, because of COVID, you need to call and make a reservation, especially if it's indoor dining, because they may be seating people every 2 or 3 seats apart. The restaurants aren't gonna be packed like they were before COVID. So if there's somewhere you've always wanted to go, somewhere that's been on your bucket list forever, make a reservation. You don't want to travel all that way and get rejected at the door. Trust me when I tell you, it's not nice. Next on the list. Crap, one more thing I wanted to mention about the negative COVID test. The negative COVID test has to be within 72 hours of you boarding your flight. If it is not within, and they count literally down to the minute. So if it is not within 72 hours, they will not let you board that flight. And look up the requirements of when you are coming back, what your own country requires of you, because I've seen people reject people from their coming back into their own country. So for flights, this was my first time going to Europe, so these flights were a little bit longer than I was used to, and I kind of regret not bringing a neck pillow, because every single time I nodded off like this, my neck would jolt forward, it would hurt. One of my recommendations is definitely bring a neck pillow or whatever it is that makes you comfortable on a flight. Also, a lot of flights now have Wi-Fi available to you for purchase, obviously. But with that, you can do some research on where it is that you're going, what it is that you want to see, book tickets for museums, so on and so forth. So again, you're not going anywhere and you're headed towards this place, and you're going to want to know as much as you possibly can about this place. So it's the perfect time to look up where you're going and see what it is that you want to do. Shoes. One of the best advice that I found out was do not wear heels. I watched multiple videos on YouTube and I watched multiple videos on TikTok before I went. My friend told me not to wear jeans and to like dress more modestly. The one thing that was consistent in the advice was do not bring heels. Don't wear heels. Bring comfortable shoes. And let me tell you, baby, These people are not lying. Bring your most comfortable shoes with you. Only one shoe that I brought survived the entire trip. It barely did. Man, do I ever love these. Dress more modestly. It doesn't necessarily mean like a prude. You don't have to be covered up to the neck or anything, but you will not be allowed in certain places, churches, museums, and such, if your shoulders are bare. I have no idea what it is because I walked in my crop tops just like this and I was fine. I mean, mine did have a nice puffy sleeve, but they wouldn't let my friend who was with me go into certain places. Even if you don't want to wear something with sleeves that day, put a little scarf in your bag. That way your shoulders can be covered. Okay, remember when I was talking about budgeting transportation within your trip? Make sure you have that in there. It's very, very important because you don't want to be caught off guard in a new country with their taxi fees and their Uber fees. Take Greece, for example. When I got to Santorini, because I had done my research prior to that, I knew that they had a really excellent bus system. So I caught the bus straight from the airport and it took me right into Fira, where I then lugged my suitcase straight to my hotel. I did use the City to Go app map, definitely recommend it. This app right here, it allows you to download maps of where it is that you're going, the city that you're going to, and it can be used offline. The only problem with it is you only get to download one map, which I didn't know, and then to be able to download multiple maps, you have to pay a price. Just be aware of that. The person I went with, we left from separate cities. I left from Toronto, she left from Montreal. She got there long before I did. She took a taxi from the airport to the hotel. They charged her 25 euros. My bus fare cost me $2.50. Ubers, are there Ubers available in Santorini? Yes. Here's the weird thing about the Ubers in Santorini though. Doesn't matter where you're going, doesn't matter where you are, all Ubers in Santorini cost $35. It doesn't matter if you're going 5 minutes down the street or 20 minutes down the street. Every single Uber in Santorini costs $35. Next on the list, tours, activities, excursion. Every city that you are going to has something special about that city. Find out what it is, figure out if it's in your budget, plan ahead if you can, because planning ahead is always a great thing, and just do it. I did bring my debit and my credit cards. I barely, if ever, used any of them. The only time I used my debit card was to withdraw more cash. Prior to leaving, I went to the bank. I paid for most things with cash. It helped me keep a track record of how much I was spending, which was better for me. Which brings me to another point of mine. Pickpocketing. France, Spain, Rome, all of them. Known for having pickpockets. While being in Rome, I tried to be very, very, very much aware of pickpockets. People who are gonna be like, hey, what's up? Try to give you a high five, slap a bracelet on your hand, and then tell you that it costs $20. I tried to keep my head down and my eyes either straight forward or on the ground. People hang outside the train station literally looking for tourists they can either pickpocket or scam really quickly. She's like, go straight to your hotel. Do not stop. Do not talk to anyone. I don't know if I got really lucky or maybe I was just really aware of my surroundings and they noticed that, but I didn't have anyone attempt to pickpocket me. While in Rome, I did carry around this purse right here. It does zip around and over, and I tend to carry it around like this. It was always right here in front and my hand was always right here. So if someone was attempting to unzip it, I would be able to feel it with my fingers. Sometimes I'll send someone over to distract you by asking for directions while someone else is pickpocketing you. So I was very much aware and my hand was always, always, always on the side of my bag. As a woman traveling, you can never be too careful. Also, vendors. The vendors there are serious. They will hassle you. I encountered beggars and vendors all over Europe. Very aggressive little boy. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old or something. Selling roses with someone who looked like maybe like his older sister or his mom or something. He would try to get me to dance with him. I was trying to get out of his way. He literally just went boom and pushed me back. When I tell you guys, I had to take a deep breath because I didn't want to knock out a child. I understand that you're out here hustling, so have a good night, and just walked away. Things to pack. These are some things that I found that I didn't pack that I really need it. First things first, if you're going to Europe, you are going to need a European charger. You are going to need an adapter. I went to the source to go pick one up and they were trying to charge me $50 and I was like, yeah, no. I called an ex-boyfriend of mine who's actually French. He's like, you can pick one up at any European airport. They sell them for like 10 euros. That's exactly what I did. So when I had my layover in England, yes. So I went and I picked up this European adapter. Second thing on the list that you are going to need is bug spray. I did not think this over because I've mainly just traveled to like the Caribbean and the States and stuff like that, and I find that I'm mostly attacked by mosquitoes in Jamaica. When I'm going to Jamaica, I pack my off woods spray. This spray right here, this off-wood spray right here, this is the only one that works for me. I did not bring one to Europe, however. Not only me, but my friend as well. If you can go back and like watch the videos, we had a massive attack from mosquitoes while in Sorrento. By the end of my trip, I had mosquito bites on my neck, on my arms, like going down my arms, on my legs, on my back, on my booty cheek. Pack you one of these. Also, if you plan on going to the beach and you want to take pictures in the water. Thank you guys so much for watching, for coming back to my channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.